Hello and welcome to the CX Files for January 16th, 2025. My name is Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And I'm Peter Ryan in Montreal. Mark, great to see you and hope that the new year is kicking off for you as exceptionally as it possibly could.
Yeah, it's all going really well, really well. Everyone seems to be getting busier now that we're sort of in the middle of of January. Certainly, it was very quiet at the start of the year, but that's to be expected. Now things are certainly taking off again.
They are taking off, and that's good. I've got a sense of optimism. I think 2024 for a lot of people and for a lot of organizations wasn't perhaps the best year ever. A great deal of uncertainty, certainly from a geopolitical standpoint, as well as disruption in our space, but not necessarily disruption in the right way. I think uncertainty is probably the way I would put it. That said, 2025 looks like it's starting with a bang. And I can tell you that certainly email has not slowed down since we've come back. There's been a lot of engagement across all sorts of different platforms. LinkedIn is buzzing. So let's hope for an exceptionally great next 12 months.
Absolutely. Let's hope so. And so, why don't we go into talking about the subject that we've got for our interview this week? This is one that you did, and it's focused on Mexico, I believe.
You bet, you bet. Now, Mark, I was lucky enough to catch up with a fellow Canadian, Veronica Richards, who is the VP at WW Calls Canada. Now, Veronica and I have known each other for quite some time, and she is originally from Mexico. The base of her contact center's operations are predominantly out of Mexico. And given the fact that Mexico in the last few months has elected a new administration, there's a new president, there's a lot of shifts that are going on politically, I thought it would be a good idea to catch up with Veronica to get a bit of a sense check about what's to be coming down the pike when it comes to customer experience delivery out of Mexico, the anticipation about any changes policy-wise, or perhaps limited changes policy-wise with the new administration, and to really gain an idea about what perhaps clients or other outsourcers should be thinking about when it comes to their Mexican deployments. You know, one of the things that I love about talking to Veronica is that she is one of the most positive, optimistic, glass half full people that you can meet. And when I got off the line with her, and after we chatted a little bit about what was going on in Mexico and how she saw the lay of the land, it made me think this is one of the most established offshore and nearshore destinations in the world. 20 years ago, when I got into this game, we were writing about Mexico. We were talking about Mexico in the same, almost the same spirit that we were about India or the Philippines. And it's truly proved its value of investment. Mexico is a long time, amazing destination to do work predominantly for the US market, for the US bilingual market. And it's like IBM. Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. I don't think anybody in CX has ever gotten in trouble for choosing Mexico as a base of deployments for at least part of their customer experience delivery.
Yeah, and I think that final point there is exactly the point of focus here, that we're talking about a high quality destination. We're not just here talking about where is the lowest cost to source services from. This is an immediate neighbor of the US. This is where most of their trade will take place, but we're talking about very high quality as well.
Exactly, and resiliency of the market, and I think also, and this comes up over the course of our chat, the fact that it has proven itself to have an amazing reputation in the United States, but also now you see work being done for Canadians out of Mexico, mainly English, but there are limited pockets of French. Certainly, the European Spanish market as well is one that does get service from Mexico. And Mark, one of the things that clearly I think nobody should underestimate is the extent to which Mexico is 150 million people. It's got so many different cities, not just the major ones everybody name checks, like Mexico City, like Guadalajara, like Monterrey. But look at some of the secondary communities that are blessed with literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, third tier cities as well, where so many BPOs have been able to set up and do well. This week's CX Files, as we dive into 2025, is with a fellow Canadian, somebody who has been one of the rock stars in the CX space, not just in Canada, but I would dare say as well in the nearshore, specifically Mexico. And with that in mind, I am delighted to welcome Veronica Richards, who is the CEO of Calls. Now, Veronica is based in Hamilton, and Veronica, it is a great, great pleasure to have you here.
It is my pleasure, and thank you for that brilliant introduction. I love that. And yeah, let me tell you a little bit of myself. Who am I? I started in this industry, in this business 29 years ago, Peter. I started this business with my business partner, who's now my husband. So we started this business in Mexico in 1995. And we started like a call center in those years. We were not contact centers. We started as call centers. We were just receiving calls, and we've been growing, and we've been seeing like how the industry changes through the years, and we are still remaining. We are pioneers in Mexico, because everything started in Mexico with big companies such as banks, mainly financial companies, and they have their own call centers. But then we started with the outsourcing, and we started providing technology for this kind of company. So I started with my dad's company, and we were offering this infrastructure for big companies. And then we started thinking about setting our own call center, starting with predictive dialers by that time, and IVRs and all that stuff that were new in the market. So we started our business from there, providing not the technology, but the services. So I am in charge of, I am the CEO, the Chief Operation Officer in Mexico, but as well, we started a business here in Canada 8 years ago. How come? Because someday we receive a call from the Canadian Embassy, and they invite us to invest in Hamilton. So I came with my family, I came to this beautiful place, and we got in love with Canada. So we decided to invest here. And right now we have two companies, one in Mexico with 29 years and one in Canada with 8 years. So that's the story, Peter, of our contact centers.
Well, that's fantastic. And what a story it is. I love these types of success stories, especially individuals that come to Canada to get involved in the CX game. Because quite frankly, Veronica, as you've probably seen, Canada's CX community isn't necessarily as big as what we find in other countries. But equally, I'd say we're just as enthusiastic, if not more. And I can recall getting that level of enthusiasm from you the last time we caught up in person, which was in Toronto a few years ago. I think it was pre-pandemic. I had to use the P word at least once in the course of this discussion. But over the time, I've watched your organization grow. I've watched the level of dynamism that it's brought to the table. And we're here to talk a little bit about your Mexican operations and what's going on in Mexico. Now, for full disclosure, I've been a proponent, I've been a fan of CX being delivered from Mexico really as long as I've been involved in this industry, which is going back a couple of decades myself. Mm-hmm. And when I think a little bit about the extent to which Mexico has always been probably one of the most important facets, I always say Mexico's like IBM. Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. Nobody's ever been fired for outsourcing to Mexico, especially from the context of the United States. From your own perspective, how has the Mexican CX value proposition evolved over the course of your lifetime, over the course of what you've been doing in the customer, as you say, from the call center environment all the way to the contact center or the CX services space? And what would you say today are the core differentiators that Mexico brings to the nearshore market?
Well, I would say like over the past decade, we have a lot of improvement. I would say, first of all, the bilingual talent pool. We have a lot of English speaking talent right now. And in the past, English was important, but not as right now. Right now, we have a lot of people that lives in Mexico, probably expats from the US. So as we are so close to the US, we can get a lot of people, a lot of talent, a lot of they speak English like natives because they grew up there. So that's one of the things. And right now, government is also developing a lot of English programs, bilingual education programs, which is one of the highlights that we have in Mexico. That would be like the first change that I have seen. The second one is that we have a cultural affinity with the US and Canada. So that's important because if you take a look at other places around the world, then you need to take a plane. It's going to take a lot of time. It's a totally different culture, totally different zone time. And with Mexico, we have like exactly the same. It takes only like 4 hours to travel from Canada to Mexico. So it's really close. We have these agreements, trade agreements. So we can deal with each country like freely, I would say. And that's what makes Mexico really more attractive in the near short choice. We have this cost competitive and quality. Right now, we have the lower cost structure, and we try to keep the same quality for CX services. And we're also attracting a lot of different industries around the world for like including technology companies, finance company, and retails company that they were looking to other countries in the past, but right now they are looking to Mexico as well. And the last one is, I would say, right now, companies in Mexico, such as my company, we are investing a lot in technology. So we have right now digital tools, cloud technology, AI. So this makes like all the customer experience more flexible and efficient for sure.
But I think you're raising on that last one a really important point, Veronica, because over the years, Mexico, and I'm not saying that this is currently the state of play today, but I think historically Mexico has suffered from an impression of a cheap location for Spanish language or maybe bilingual, depending on the city that you're playing in. But I would agree with you. Mexican players have been investing like crazy when it comes to advanced technology, and they're not playing that cost arbitrage game like they used to, like the old offshoring days. Now it's much more a case of Mexico, I would say, is focused as a CX industry around certainly providing service to the United States and Canada, but they're doing it on a quality basis as opposed to just it's your mess for less in a cheap location.
That's absolutely right. We are not just the country it's cheaper. No, we have a great quality. I would say that we can compete globally with what else? The Philippines, other countries that are also doing the same, and probably some are cheaper. But if we get exactly good cost and good quality, then we have a lot of things to offer to different countries around the world.
So from that standpoint, I think it also speaks a lot to the capacity of Mexicans who are not just great at customer service. And anybody who's been to Mexico knows the warmth and the CX culture that exists, not just in our industry, but across all industries down there. As a visitor, you're going to be welcomed with a red carpet. And I think that goes for anybody, even locals or people from within Latin America. But also there is a great, robust technology savvy talent force that's down there as well that can manage some of these technology integrations, implementations, and ongoing operations of a CX services that's bridled on one side with the Mexican agent, but also the technology needed to help the agent do their job.
Exactly. That's how it works. Exactly. And we love to receive people from Canada and Mexico, people from everywhere. We are so welcoming, and we always try to let them go to the best restaurants and treat them as we were not only business partners, but as friends as well.
Yep. I agree. I've had many a great business dinner that's evolved into a great social evening, shall we say, in many different ways. I can recall being in Mexico City one time with some people from an outsourcing firm. We were talking business. By the end of the night, we ended up in a karaoke bar singing Rush songs from the 1980s.
Oh,
so yeah,
yeah.
it was an experience. But look, at the end of the day, Mexico is known for operational excellence. But as we know, operations in CX have evolved quite a lot over the years, and there are different nuances. What do you see in Mexico in 2025 and over the, say, near to medium term, what are going to be the key operational issues or challenges that CX services players are going to be facing? And what should their clients be thinking about as they engage with operators in Mexico in this regard?
Yeah, I've been thinking three major points. The first one would be, I would say, it's data security and compliance. Because if we're going to keep all the operations from different countries such as the US and Canada, the first that we need to make sure is that we can provide these privacy regulations, keep securing the data in Mexico, because that's absolutely critical for most of our clients. Then we can sign any contract if we can show them that we have all the compliance for keeping the data safe and secure. And those are, we need to, of course, go to the global standards to gain the client's confidence. That's one of the main points. The second one, I would say, we need to, all the talent development and retention. Right now, it's important because as we have so many contact centers in Mexico, it is important, and we have a lot of competition, and it's for every, you can choose any call center in Mexico, any contact center in Mexico. So clients are gonna choose those contact centers that are really investing and training their people. And they need to see that we have people that are engaged with our companies, that we provide training, and we provide digital tools such as AI tools as well, and also working with the soft skills for each agent. So that's one of the things, like talent development and retention. And the last one, and it's not the less important, it's digital transformation. Right now, contact centers in Mexico are evolving. So we can support omni-channel, which is very important. It was not only omni-channel, it was like multi-channel. So you have like different channels, but not in the same platform. Right now we have omni-channel, so you can drive through voice, chat, social media, and any channel that you would like to add. And we are also right now having AI-driven interactions. So that makes like all the repetitive stuff or all the repetitive tasks being done by an AI, but we still have like this service with all our agents alive. So we try to make a mix that works for everyone. So that I would say that's the last one, digital transformation, Peter.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think what you've just enunciated, we're seeing in a lot of different markets, whether it's Canada, the United States, Western Europe, maybe some of the more established nearshore and offshore destinations. There seems to be a renewed emphasis, no matter where you are, on delivering CX, but making sure that you are effectively renewing your technology value proposition at the same time. And it goes back to what we were saying before. It's not just about cheap agents at workstations. It's all about that holistic view of the CX ecosystem, of which talent, I was going to say labor, but it's not labor, it's talent and it's technology at the same time.
It needs to be a combination of both. And I was telling you before we started this conversation that I was honestly not really open for AI technology, because I thought that it was just because you're going to fire a lot of people and AI is going to take place of those agents. And right now, I think that you don't need to choose because the market is asking for it. So you need to invest in AI technology, but you need to be aware of what tasks are they going to perform, and remaining with this kindness and this personal experience that the people may have over the different channels that we have. So it is now there, it's growing, and it's going too fast. So if you're not right now with the best technology, you're going to be out of the market really soon.
Yeah, I think that's it. I've been saying for a long time, if you don't make sure that you've renewed or you've kept fresh in terms of what is required to do CX right, you will be left behind. I mean, we know what happened to the dinosaurs. We know what happened to the typewriter. And I used this example with somebody the other day. Not renewing in technology today would have been like, say, back in 1985, somebody going out and saying, well, we need to increase productivity. I'm going to go out and buy a whole bunch of typewriters, as opposed to investing in computers for my office. And that's where we're at in 2025.
That's how it is, and it's going really fast, Peter. It's not
Yeah.
that like in the past days that we know that technology was coming and then it comes and then we have enough time to get along with. But right now it's going too fast, so we need to move really, really fast.
Well, let's talk about moving fast and let's talk a little bit about renewal in another sense. It didn't go under the radar in Canada, and I'm sure in the rest of the world, that Mexico, one of the largest countries on the globe, elected a new president not long ago. Now, what I'd be interested from your standpoint, Veronica, is to dive into this a little bit because, as you know, the CX Files podcast is not political. We don't take sides, but
Yeah.
we are also very conscious about the implications of new administrations, new governments, and what that can mean to our industry, which can be very susceptible to changes. It's very sensitive to switches in policy and policy direction. Give us your take on the new president of Mexico and the angle that you think she's going to take more broadly. And what are the implications on CX delivery from Mexico, not just for the outsourcers that are maybe on the ground, but for some of the clients that might be from outside the country?
Well, right now, I think it's a little bit early to know what exactly she's gonna do. I believe it's great to have the first woman in Mexico to become a president, which is really great. As a woman, I would say I am honored to have a woman as president, but it also have a lot of impact. Also, that we have elections in the U.S. and now we have a new president in the U.S. So everything impacts the Mexican market, and I would say we have a lot of opportunities, but a lot of obstacles. But in this time, I think if the government, if there's any changes in the trade agreements or regulations, that could affect the nearshore dynamic. That could affect that immediately. So hopefully she decided to go and work for like to boost what Mexico is doing right now. The other thing could be we need as a country to keep investing in infrastructure and education. So the government needs to prioritize infrastructure, digital transformation, education, because this would strengthen Mexico's ability to compete in the customer experience market. And one of the most important things is the labor law reforms, Peter. It's been changing since the last 6 years with the last president. So that impacts a lot our businesses. So labor laws affecting wages, benefits, contract flexibility, that could impact a lot in our call center industry. So what we need to do is we need to adapt our HR practices in order to align with the regulatory changes. But that's the main three things that I would say the government should need to focus on, just to keep the business growing, the industry growing. And I truly believe that it's what is going to happen in Mexico. That's what I believe is going to happen.
But you do raise a good point, the fact that the industry is very susceptible to changes when it comes to things like labor law and how human resources are going to be managed. And when you get a situation where maybe there have been changes over one president to the next president to the next president, that can be very disruptive for any business, no matter what the scale and size. So, Veronica, my question to you would be, as we think a little bit about how the industry is going to be impacted by potential changes, or maybe not any changes to different laws as it relates, and I think your point on infrastructure was really important too. Is Mexico's CX industry being represented, or is anybody lobbying the government effectively to make sure that the new president and her cabinet and the broader administration understands the needs of what's an exceptionally important sector for job creation and employment over the long term in the Mexican context?
Well, definitely, yes. And as we are partners for Mexico, for the US and Canada, like all the foreign affairs, they are absolutely aware that this is an industry that is growing really fast and that it is important to Mexico, really important. So I think that they are taking care of this industry, but not only this one, a lot of industries, because of the proximity to the US and Canadian market. So we have a lot of independent, I would say, organizations such as the Institute for Teleservices in Mexico, that we are always aware and try to copy the best practices from one another to be here for a long time, because we want to keep the market going through the years. And Mexico should be always a good partner for all the countries. So I would say, yes, it's an important way to keep standing for each other in the market. And I think that you can still trust Mexican market for this kind of industries, because the government is protecting us as us. Absolutely. Yes, that's what I would say about that.
Okay, so finishing up here, I'm very bullish on Mexico. I'm very excited about what 2025 is going to bring to the table from the context of nearshoring. And obviously, Mexico is really one of the anchors when it comes to the American nearshore, Veronica. So give me some thoughts. We've talked a little bit about what some of the operational challenges might be in Mexico going into this year. But when you're thinking about the opportunities, what do you see as the major opportunities on the horizon when it comes to CX delivery from Mexico into the US, potentially Canada, or even further afield?
Well, we could become a huge AI hub in Mexico for customer service. So we can combine human agents with advanced technology to deliver the best service at a lower cost. So that's one of the opportunities. Expansion to AI and automation. So Mexico could be a great hub in for this kind of technology. The second one would be that the domestic market is growing, Peter, a lot. So we are creating a lot of employment opportunities, and we have within Mexico, we are creating opportunities to companies to serve local and regional customers. One of the things is that Mexico is a hub not only for Mexico, Peter, because as we speak Spanish and we have this proximity with Latin American markets, you can think as Mexico as like the main hub, but from there you can reach the Latin American markets, such as Colombia, such as Peru, Argentina. And we have a large community in Mexico for Brazilian people who lives in Mexico. So we can reach also from Mexico, the Brazilian market as well. So that's one of the things that the domestic market is growing. And the last one, I would say, strengthening brand loyalty through cultural affinity. Our cultural affinity is one of the most important things, because we are close. We can have this cultural understanding, language skills to build stronger connections with our customers. So when they call us, because when we have received inbound calls and sometimes they ask, are you located in Mexico? Yes, we are. So they are happy and they start talking about what we do in Mexico. They start talking about tequila. They start talking about Cancun. So we are a country that are really blessed, not only because we have a lot of things to share to the world, like culturally talking. So we are welcome in different countries. So that's something that we need to share as an opportunity as well.
You gave me a giggle about the tequila in Cancun. I was gonna say fond memories of both. The town of tequila as well as the product. And Cancun certainly, although I have to say I'm more of a Puerto Vallarta guy myself. Look,
Me too.
yeah,
Honestly.
no, and quite frankly, I think another spot that's been very underrated and undervalued is Acapulco. I love Acapulco. I think it's one of the coolest places to go. It's almost got like a bit of old world elegance. Makes me think of remember the TV show The Love Boat?
Yes,
Yeah, they
absolutely.
used to stop in Acapulco, but that's another podcast for another day, shall we say.
Yeah.
Um, Look, Veronica, it's really been great catching up with you. Thank you so much for giving us some insight onto one of the most important markets when it comes to CX delivery services anywhere in the world. Now, my last question for you is if anybody needs to find out more about calls or wants to find out a little bit about you, how can they reach out? How can they find out more?
Well, the best way is to go directly to LinkedIn and find me there. I am Veronica Richards, just like that. So you can find me there. So if you want to go to our website, for Mexico is calls.com.mx, and for Canada is www.calls.ca.
Perfect.
www.callscanada.ca. So I will be glad to listen to your audience, to this podcast. It was my pleasure, Peter, to be here with you. And hopefully we can meet personally in the near future.
I do hope so. And I would just say as well that if anybody is interested in catching up with you, we had the chance, as I mentioned a few years ago, to connect. It's always a lot of fun, Veronica. It's me who thanks you. We've been talking about getting you on the podcast for quite some time. I'm glad we were able to make it work, and have a happy 2025.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You too.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.